Hey everybody, October for me is Trend Trade Month and I am really excited about that. And I just recorded some videos for the members about the goals that I'm setting and how I want to get there and a 5-step process for achieving goals. But with you right now, what I want to do is talk to you about the new robot that's going to help me achieve this goal of taking a bunch of trend trades in the month of October. So I'll take these down. Some of you have been asking why I've been writing on these giant Post-it notes instead of just writing on the whiteboard, and the answer is the whiteboard has a bunch of glare, so it's easier just to write on these. Okay, here's the new robot. I want to talk to you about this way that I'm going to use a robot to take these trend trades and talk to you about how I built, together with Dan Hill and Andrew Palladino, this robot. So here's the robot, and I'm calling it the Peso Breakout robot because I originally wanted to trade it on the US dollar Mexican peso, which is awesome. And I want to take breakout trades with the trend, which have been my favorite for quite some time. So the elements that go into this system are the ADX and price. Obviously price, right? Obviously, that makes a lot of sense. Now the ADX is a measure of trend strength. If the ADX is up, then the trend is strong, and if the ADX is down, then the trend is weak or doesn't exist at all. What we want to look for this robot is when the ADX dips lower. And so the ADX is running along the bottom of a screen, and occasionally the ADX will run much lower when price starts to consolidate and the trend slows down and there is no trend, and price will end up just going sideways. And price, during this time, when price is going sideways, the robot will draw a box around this price, and then the robot will trade breakouts from beyond that box. And it will place a stop loss back inside the box, and it will place a profit target, outside the box in increments of the size of the original box, meaning we draw a box around price when it has consolidated and the trend is weak. Then price breaks out, and we look for profit targets that equal the size of the original box. And you can actually do multiples. So you could break out of the box and look for a profit target that goes all the way up here if you want, or you could look for a profit target that only goes a really short distance. And you could have a really big stop loss or a really small stop loss. And the good news is the robot's done. The robot's ready. And so what I want to do now is switch over to the computer, and I want to show you some of the settings on this robot and run a quick test so you can take a look at how it does. Okay, hi everybody. Let's take a look at the breakout rules. As I mentioned on the whiteboard up there, we're going to look for places where the ADX has dropped below a level. And in this case, I'm looking at below 18. And that is an indication that the trend has lost all of its strength and that we are in a period of consolidation and low volatility. And as you know, low volatility leads to high volatility. So when the ADX drops below a level that we decide, the robot will then draw a box around price and trade a breakout from outside of that box, placing a stop loss inside the box if we want at, say, 50% of the width or length or whatever you want to call it of the box, and then a profit target equal to the size of the box, maybe, or maybe even 2 times the size of the box, and so on. In order to give you an even better idea of what that looks like, let's jump over here to MetaTrader. Now, we built this robot for MetaTrader, and I'll stop this current test, and let's take a look at the properties for the robot. So, of course, there's a warning: don't trade a robot unless you've done your testing and you've done all of the work to get ready for it. Don't forget to read and watch guides like this before you run a robot. Every robot has a magic number which distinguishes the robot trades from your discretionary trades. Slippage is a setting that prevents the robot from opening a trade in a really fast-moving market where you can't get the price that you wanted. The max spread in this case is 100. We are trading the Mexican peso in this case, so we want a max spread of about 100. For those of you not familiar with the Mexican peso, the dollar Mexican peso has a wider spread, and each pip is worth less and a lot more volatility. So when it all comes down to it, the spread's not really that much different as it is on any other currency pair. If you want to trade this robot or test this robot on another currency pair, you can change the spread setting, the maximum spread setting, to something more likely to work on a euro or a British pound or whatever else. Okay, we're going to trade one mini lot in our back test, and we're going to place a stop loss 50% of the way back inside the box. But if you want to, you can trade with a dollar-based stop loss if you don't want to use the size of the box to dictate your stop loss area. And then we're going to take profit at 1.5 times the size of the original box. But if you want to, you could set your profit target to be in dollar terms. You can set the robot to only take buy trades or sell trades right inside the settings. And we can play around with the settings we like for the ADX. You can trade the robot from a 5-minute chart, but use a 1-hour chart ADX. It's pretty cool. You can use the ADX from any time frame chart when you're trading. I like to test from the 1-hour chart and trade with the ADX on the 1-hour chart so they match up. But you can change something different. We're going to apply the ADX to the closing price, use a period of 14, and that low level on the ADX is 18. The box will be drawn using the high and the low over the last 20 candles. All right, so let's take a look at what this does and how this looks when we run a test. So I'll click the Start button, and we are in visual mode, and we've got our ADX up on the screen. Let's just move forward here, and we'll just let it run. I'm going to let some time pass here because you can see there are some old trades on the screen here. All right, let's take a look at this. As you can see, the ADX dropped below 18. And I was trying to draw a line here. There we go. So you can see the ADX dropped below 18, and then the robot drew a box around price. And as soon as price dropped outside of that box, it sold the US dollar Mexican peso and took profit already, I think. Yep, there it is. It took a profit at 1.5 times the size of the original box. So the box was this wide, and it looked for a profit target that was that large, plus some additional money. We want our money. All right, let's keep going. So you can see there's already some lines drawn on the screen. Looks like the ADX dropped below 18. And then the robot drew a box. This candle drops barely outside of that box, and then price jumps right back inside and takes a stop loss. Okay, this is all working pretty nicely. So let's stop our test. Let's get out of visual mode, and let's just run a back test. Usually when I build a robot, the first version of the robot is just garbage. Not because of the programmer, but because my idea for the robot was garbage. But in this case, actually, we have a nice surprise here. This robot, right out of the box, although it's kind of jumpy back and forth, it's making money right out of the box. No pun intended. Pun intended. And so I like this. This is nice. And now I can go back and do some optimization and some playing around with this robot to see if I can even increase the amount of money made on these breakouts. And then I can back test further in time when I've done that. So I'm really excited about this robot and what the potential is for getting this started. I'm probably going to start running this within the next, I would say, 3 or 4 days in my live account. Okay, we'll see you later, everybody.